Get a life, nerd.
Hey guys, Alkali Lake here. We are back again, finally, with our fourth part of the big build how-to videos. And this time we are focusing on time. How do you budget your time? How do you make it all work? And I've got some answers for you. Okay guys, so this video is going to be much shorter than the last ones. Parts 1, 2, and 3 were pretty extensive, but this one will be much quicker. If you get the chance, make sure to watch those through in their entirety because there are so many good lessons to learn when making a big build. So as a refresher, we have Bane Bloodhoof here, and this is the big build that I am working on. And today we are going to talk about budgeting your time. So what's important about Bane is he seems rather simple because there isn't really that much armor, but there's a lot more to look at here as far as beating, fur, a big muscle suit, and giant totems. So those are the parts of the cosplay that are going to take a lot of time. Plus, I plan on making this for competition, so there's no piece of this that I'm going to do in a lazy way or that I'm going to try to rush through. So this headdress here on top, I'm going to put a lot of time in. So let's move on over to my Excel spreadsheet where I am logging how much time I'm anticipating that this is going to take me. All right, no fun, I know, but spreadsheets. I don't always do them, especially if I'm doing a fun cosplay that I don't really care about. But if you're going to do a competition build, I highly recommend doing a spreadsheet to map out your time. Because one of the things people make a big mistake on is deciding that they're going to enter a cosplay competition, but not be able to make the time cutoff. I'm sure some of you might be guilty of this because I know I'm guilty of this as well. So I took the time to map out how long I thought all of this was going to take, and where I'm moving my mouse around right here, you can see. Now, I highly recommend that if you're going to budget your time, you do it in one of a few ways. First of all, I really don't recommend budgeting out your time in hours or minutes. If you're the type of person who has a lot of free time, then you might be able to do that. Or if this is your full-time job, you have a good idea of what your day is going to look like and you can dedicate full time to making your cosplay. But if you're like me and a lot of other people, you also already have a full-time job or a part-time job, or you know what? Hey, maybe you're also like me and you have little ones. So I don't have the time to sit down and really figure out how many minutes something's going to take. So I recommend you figure out building your cosplay in terms of days, nights, mornings, or weekends. It's much easier to grasp and take in tiny bites. So for me, I stream part-time to full-time. I'm kind of in the middle, and I have a busy family life. So for me, I know I have certain days I can work on things, so I like to measure out my time in days. Now, let's say you work during the day and your nights are free. Maybe you should measure out your time in nights. Or if you work all week, you're too tired, you come home and you don't want to work on cosplay, then measure out your time in weekends. This is the biggest tip I can give you, is to not, and I repeat, please don't measure out your time in hours or minutes. It'll be very, very overwhelming. So real quickly, we're just going to breeze through this because you can figure out your time on how to make things, especially if you've done them before. For example, I've made stilts before, so I know it's going to take me about a week. Now, this is a week without a paint job, all right? Stilts don't require a paint job. They're hidden underneath everything. They might actually take far less time, but I have to change my previous stilt pattern because instead of 130-pound me, they're going to be for a 200-something plus pound man. So I have to change the design a little bit, and it's going to take a bit more effort. And since I'm working with a model in this project and not with myself, I have to factor in their available time as well. So even though I think the stilts might actually take me about 3 days, I doubled it just to be safe. Another one I wanted to point out here is the giant Tauren head. I've never made a Tauren head. I have a Cosplay's tutorial to go off of, and I'm gonna do my best to follow that. But I budgeted 14 days or 2 weeks, and this includes a paint job. But I plan on individually making all the feathers myself, and I think the feathers alone are gonna take 2 days. Plus, there's beading for the headdress, which is gonna take a lot of time. It's hand sewing, so I put a large budget of time on that. An example of not putting a lot of budget on time would be the Tauren Panties. They're not really going to get seen. They're made out of a faux leather, and I'm really just sewing a small undergarment. I'm going to spend a day sewing that. It might only take a few hours, but I'm still going to put it as a day on my list of things because I don't want to do things in hours. If something might take 5 hours, I'm still going to call it a day. So let's fast forward down to the bottom of this list, and you'll see that I have mapped out 132 days for this very large build. Well, that would equal about 4 months if you divide it in 34 days. It's a little bit more. Now, I want to talk about something very important that a lot of cosplayers do, which is all-nighters. And I'm going to switch over to my other view mode for this. Let's really talk about all-nighters. So let's look at this cosplay again, and this guy's huge. And I'm one of those people, when I was talking about are you nights, days, weekends person, I'm an all-nighter weekends kind of gal. So I can really put a lot of time on weekends into this build. So I do not recommend pulling all-nighters. It's not very healthy, but I know a lot of you are going to do it anyway. So if you're going to do it anyway, and I know I'm going to do it anyway, you might as well factor it into your build. I get very passionate, super passionate about certain parts of the cosplay. So I'm very purposefully going to save those parts of the build for a weekend and not even start them on a weekday. I would highly recommend this for budgeting your time as well. Because if you start a part of the project that you feel like you're going to be passionate about, chances are you're going to spend too much time on it on a day you're not going to be able to recover your sleep. Now, I can't recommend this enough. Please get enough sleep and don't crunch too hard for cosplays. It's really just not worth it in the end. So passionate parts of this build are going to be the headdress, the totems, and I'm kind of really you guys have heard me talk about this, really into doing the beading this time on the belt and on the totem strap. So I budgeted a lot of time for this simple looking belt and totem strap just because I really want to learn and I really want to have some showstopper handwork here. So I am not going to start those until a weekend. Now, back to the spreadsheet. All right, so on the spreadsheet here, I have all-nighters equal 2 to 3 days. So if I take the things that I'm really going to focus on spending my all-nighters, which really just means more than 8 hours, meaning I'm going to focus like an entire day for this. I'm locking myself in this room and I am going at the project, or I'm sitting down and totally binging one of my favorite Netflix series while I bead, something like that. So the things that I can do that on are the totem strap, the horn prop, the hair and mane, and the headdress, the Tauren head, and the muscle suit. I'm going to spend a lot of time on those, and those are going to be my binge days. If I choose to do those binge days, I can shave an entire month off of this build, really taking it down to 3 months. I'm pretty sure I'm going to spend a lot of time on this build, and I'm still going to be in excess of 4 months. But I just want to let you know you can factor in weekends or big days as really equaling 2 to 3 days. So again, just to kind of rehash here, instead of figuring out your time budget as, minutes or hours, just figure it out as to what you have. So like, let's say you're a busy mom and you have 3 days a week that you have a little one in daycare. You can call that daycare days. Like, you can call it whatever you want, but don't stress yourself out calling it time for hours. It'll just be way too much. All right, you guys, I hope you liked this series. If you did, please recommend it to your friends. Also, I would really appreciate it if you would hit like and subscribe on this video. I am so excited about future content I have coming up for you and can't wait to show you the rest of this build. And as always, I would love to hear your comments below. Thanks, you guys.